Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes! Amazing!
We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
we love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break. Right? Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode number 173 and we're your hosts Matt
And Jake.
here to tell you guys all about Matchday 36 in Serie A with just 2 games left to go.
No, il messicano, no.
If you guys don't know who our new co-host is, it is in fact Tung Sahur here to my right. Celebrating or rather mocking, well, you're
Mourning.
mourning Napoli.
Is that-
fair enough.
Mourning
Celebrating Genoa wouldn't exactly be the way we feel about it. To
Exactly,
be honest.
no. Lovely goal by Vasquez, but of course that spices things up at the top. That game against Parma is looking like a potential banana skinner for Napoli right now, especially judging by how the results have gone. Empoli won as well.
Yeah. Oh man, believe me, guys, you're gonna want to listen to this entire episode. I know retention is always something that we're pushing for, so we're obviously going to listen to the full thing. But you're gonna want to listen to the full episode because with 2 games left to go, there's still so much on the line and so much has changed. If you thought you knew any outcome in Serie A apart from Monza's relegation and Atalanta's Champions League football next year, there's still so much on the line. We can't wait to talk about it, but we always start with our goal of the week. We actually had a fantastic selection. Last week we struggled because there weren't many nice ones. This week we were spoiled and blessed.
It felt ridiculous writing down the honourable mentions. Like, how many honourable mentions are we going to have? There was Sulemana's goal. It was a great low-driven strike into the bottom corner that won them the game against
Amazing.
Roma.
Mandragora scored face down, ass up.
Exactly. He was on the floor and he managed to get quite a powerful shot off. Raspadori beat his man with a touch and slotted it home neatly.
Lucca with the half volley, powerful. You'd think the keeper could save it, but it was an absolute bullet of a strike.
And Jurin with a goal that's worth 6 points, curling it from outside of the box.
That might
Into the
low
top
key.
corner.
But I
That's
can't.
for me
I
second.
was so exactly. I was so close to giving it to him. There was Strefezza, of course. Tira Gira by Strefezza.
Kakarek chipping the goalkeeper.
Amazing. Orsolini with his Tira Gira vintage goal against Milan. But as you guys could see, we did give our goal of the week to Zalewski, who not only did he score by taking on a man brilliantly on the turn
with the chop,
curling it beautifully into the far corner, but he did it in a friggin' tsunami, in a friggin' monsoon. Absolutely crazy. That is our goal of the week.
Yeah.
Zalewski,
Yeah,
we're
what a
agreeing
goal.
on
What a
that.
goal.
We don't always have the same goal of the week. As of recent, we've started doing it separately. But we're noticing that we we do.
We often agree. I mean,
agree.
sometimes there is a certain element of objectivity when it comes to a good goal, right? The fact, for example, that Zalewski beat a man before he scored just one-ups Anjurin's goal, even though the strike wasn't as impressive because it was the bottom corner, not the top corner, which isn't as nice technically. But you know what, man? Zalewski's was perfectly weighted. It bounced right in the back of the net. Like,
was it Strefezza who slipped when he struck the
was,
ball?
it
It
was,
was Strefezza.
yeah.
What did you
Strefezza
say? He celebrated. He did the plane, and it's the smallest plane you've ever seen.
A paper plane.
Before we dive in, Benevo motherfucking bid. Benevo bid. Did you think you could get autographed items from your favorite Serie A players in history? To be fair, because they currently have a stock coming in that has Zanetti, Pippo Inzaghi, so on and so forth. Autographed items from your favorite Serie A players in history.
And more.
Including match-issued kits. And most of the proceeds go to charity. A local charity in Malta. And believe me, we need charity. Well, no, I'm not gonna push it too much, but amazing. So you get to get incredible items, and at the same time, you're giving back. I would like to shout out Benevobit for giving us great opportunities to meet some of these players. But
exactly, instead of donating to charity, buy a kit and you win-win. You're
Exactly.
donating and you're getting some bit of merchandise for yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. Benevobid, check it out. The link is in our bio. If you guys are new here, make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, and rate us 5 stars on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We have a 5-star standard, which we'd like to
Maintain.
Yep. We do weekly episodes covering every single match, every single team, every single week, and have weekly bonus tactical analysis episodes called Tactics Imperium by the very talented John Leah.
Who did not do one this week, but he'll be back next week. But he's been watching a whole lot of Serie B and Serie C, and I'm like, bro, record episodes on that.
Literally,
Like,
amazing,
that would be great.
Amazing,
That would be great. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We should also, we've discussed this, but I'm saying it on air to put pressure on ourselves. Let's bring him on sometime.
Yes,
soon.
no, I told him already. Like in the summer, we have 2 match days left of this format, and then we just bring guests and have fun with it.
Fantastic. Oh, summer's coming.
Guys, summer's coming, which means that the next season of our Fantasy Football League will be starting very soon. To join, you will have to become a patron. That's $3.99 a month, and you will be helping us to grow and to improve our content. And yes, but if you win the Fantasy Football League, you will get a free kit. Currently, it is Joey D who is leading. He's been leading for a while now.
Yeah.
He is way ahead of everyone, over 100 points ahead with 2 matches to go. His name this week is I Smell Sex and Kande.
Yes, I love
Fuck
that. I love
yes.
that.
Fuck yes.
After a week of not understanding it,
Yes.
you're back, Joey.
We have a new
Respect.
spothead, speaking of Julian Laspina.
Oh, and I
Legend.
completely forgot. Julian, the absolute legend.
What a guy, what a guy. We met him at a wedding and he became a patron in front of my very eyes. I've never seen that happen before, someone subscribing in front of mine.
Him and his brother remind me of us, the relationship that they have. Matthew and Julian Laspina are top guys.
I don't know his brother.
I love them.
Patron of the
You
week.
don't know his brother? He's the one that put on that show. During the wedding, the guy with the sunglasses who was singing
that was him.
song. That's his brother.
Hilarious.
Amazing.
Shout out to him.
Amazing.
Patron of the week goes to new boy Alex Rose.
Look at you scoring on your debut.
Why?
Just like Danny Rose.
He has a nice mustache. He has nice tattoos. He's great with handiwork. He was fixing the pipes underneath his sink while the game was going on. He uses great stickers when Roma lose.
It's true. His stickers were fantastic.
Fantastic
I noticed
stickers.
that. I noticed that.
Fantastic. And he didn't rage quit, which was nice
Yeah.
when Roma lost.
Respect, Alex Rose. It wasn't an easy debut week for you, but look at that, patron of the week, and you were actually nominated by a fellow patron, Luca Argento. So just a shout out to Luca Argento for being so selfless and giving flowers to someone else.
And I'm so sorry for that picture that was sent of you asleep on the floor, Luca.
I apologize for that. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
This week, before we get into the action, brother, I think it's important to mention that the players wore their mother's names on their back this week. Might have been confusing for some. But strangely enough, Çalhanoğlu didn't have bitch written at the back of his shirt.
No, bro. Oh,
No.
God. No.
Madre di Çalhanoğlu, no.
His kid's gonna, when his kid inevitably becomes a footballer, interesting to see the word he's gonna have, considering what the fans say about Çalhanoğlu's wife. On the other hand. Yes, but you mentioned our Patreon. It's $3.99 a month, guys. You do get added to the fantasy as well as the latest group chat in Serie A history with a bunch of crazy football fans and some of the smartest people you'll ever meet as well. If you miss a game, you don't miss a game.
Yeah.
That's why we miss games and we still have a podcast talking to you guys about football. These are our employees.
They fill us right in. Of course, that and extensive research.
What a segue. Speaking of employees, we're looking to bring someone on board to be our producer, guys.
Yes.
Hopefully,
He would have to be based in Malta.
Yes, I was going to say hopefully he or she is based in Malta, but it does have to be a person that is based in Malta. We do need someone in the studio with us while we're recording every Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it is that makes sense for us, so that we can also watch football. And obviously other, hit us up and we'll tell you all of the roles and responsibilities that come with that.
Exactly. Basically, it would need we need someone to man OBS while we record, to edit on the spot, and then to release the episode immediately.
And snippets, social media, ideally this person. Look, you don't need any degrees, you don't need any qualifications. Do not send us a CV for the love of God.
No CVs.
Text us, DM us, let's meet up, let's have a chat. 99% if you make us laugh, 1 foot through the door. Because we do need someone that can bring a certain kind
that could partake in the show, right?
Someone that can share that kind of humor that we have.
Hey Jamie, pull up a picture of Castillo.
Exactly. Pull up a picture of Saponara's ass. But yes, shall we do the rundown? I really want to get into this one because it's going to be absolutely mental. We will start things off with Napoli to Genoa. Genoa, to be honest, put up a really good display. Of course, it was a 20th minute setback for Napoli as Lobotka went off injured for the third match in a row, which really allowed Genoa to press Napoli and to be able to attack Napoli. And every attack that Genoa had, albeit a few, they looked really dangerous, and they did manage to get away with a late equalizer, which leaves the deficit just at 1 point with Napoli on top of the table.
Pinamonti even hit the post early.
Pinamonti hit the post as well. Yeah. This wasn't a shocking result. If you watched the game, you would have seen that Genoa actually, they're such an awkward team to play against, as we were talking about as Milan beat them last week. We're talking about what awkward opponents they are now, especially in their stadium. This was obviously in the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium, however. We will then be moving on to Torino 0, Inter 2. Let me tell you what, these Inter substitutes are putting on one hell of a shift when it all got important. So, of course, we know, did we cover this? Inter have made the Champions League final.
Yes,
we did. Yes, we spoke about it a bit too much, obviously. With Inter basically exhausting their key pieces for 120 minutes. They had to rotate once again. They rotated away to Torino, and the visibility was awful. It was raining like hell. They had to stop the game during 1 point, and then they got the pitch inspectors to come on. Very, very good performance, however, by these guys. Zalewski scored. Zalewski's looking really good. I do hope that they manage to hang on to him, which they will, no doubt. And as well, again, for the second time in a row, Aslani scoring from the spot.
Yes, and two massive goalkeeping performances.
Yes.
Granted, Vanya giving away the penalty, but he had a great double save, and that Martinez save was excellent on Shea Adams.
Absolutely. My God, two great goalkeepers that Inter have at their arsenal. But like I said, 1 point between them, 2 matches to go. Inter now play Lazio. So will that still be the case after that? We will wait and see. From here on out, for the battle for top 4, everything Milan fans needed to happen on that Excel sheet happened.
Exactly. That Excel sheet we read out last week, the first line, everything and more happened.
Exactly. So,
like Fiorentina lost, they didn't draw.
I know, bro. Amazing. So Atalanta beat Roma 2-1, ending Roma's streak of 19 games unbeaten. Now, if that comes as a surprise, I encourage you to go look up the previous encounters between these two sides, because in Atalanta's last 10 games against Roma, they actually beat them 6 times, and Roma only won 2, and then there were 2 draws. So it didn't come to that much of a surprise, but the form Roma were on was incredible. But here, Lookman was the guy for Atalanta, playing with, I believe, a bruised Achilles, but a goal and an assist over there. Atalanta were simply too much for Roma. They were the better team throughout. Lazio won, Juve won. It did look like Juve were going to get away with the victory despite a Pierre Kalulu red card, but Lazio managed to get that goal with one of the last kicks of the game to make it 1-1 and to keep themselves tied in 4th place. Milan, obviously, I don't even have to say that they came back from behind to win this game, but this was the training game against Bologna before the Coppa Italia final, which takes place tomorrow. Bologna took the lead early in the second half through Orsolini. Santi Jimenez comes on, Chukwueze comes on, Santi Jimenez scores 2, Pulisic scores, and Milan win the game 3-1. all the action. I follow this guy. Shout out, I don't know your name, but sometimes I watch his lives on TikTok. He's an American Milan fan, and he just went to Como Stadium, and then he went to watch Milan Bologna, and he arrived at the second half, and he saw everything he needed to see, because nothing happened in the first half, and all 4 goals came.
It was cagey in the first half, right? Everyone feeling each other out. This was the starter, right? Before the main course, which is tomorrow night. Not much rotation, especially from Milan. Bologna did move some things around, but Milan really didn't. Venezia 2, Fiorentina 1. Again, great for Milan in their quest for top 4, but even better for Venezia, because just before that, Empoli beat Parma 2-1. So Empoli were momentarily out of the relegation bottom 3, only for Venezia to sink them and Lecce back down. And Venezia are now 1 point ahead of both of those teams. The relegation battle is really heating up. It's a game of leapfrog.
Absolutely. And Parma, Verona and Cagliari keep dropping points. So it is going to be really, really interesting.
Down to the wire.
Como 3, Cagliari 1. Speaking of these teams dropping points, that is Como's 6th victory in a row. And if it hadn't been for Pepe Reina blunder, it would have been another clean sheet for them. Hellas 1, Lecce 1. Not too much to say about that game. I mean, both sides really wanted it. It was a very tight affair between 2 very similar teams and similar level teams. Both teams will be very, very disappointed with that result, however. And Monza actually won a game, and it was away from home against Udinese. Yes. Udinese, the most unpredictable team in the league right now. Keita Balde, here's the thing. We understand that you're not used to winning at Monza, and Monza aren't used to winning, so winning is something big. But you're going to take your top off and your team is relegated.
Exactly.
Like show some element of, I guess, humility. Lecce didn't celebrate, even though they got that they went 1-0 up, because obviously they're mourning. They must have been really excited, right? But they kept it together. Your team's in Serie B, then you're not even going to be there, and you're there taking off your top.
And the equalizer was your fault.
Exactly. It was a ridiculous mistake. It was like that Guti back heel assist, man. Absolutely crazy.
But yes, I think we're going to jump straight into it.
Yep.
The first game is yours, unfortunately for you. Wow,
That's
bro, you're going to run out of saliva over here.
And I had meetings today.
That means a whole lot of yapping, huh?
You know what? I think a good salesman learns to listen. And
so when are you going to become a good salesman?
Okay, so the first game, like we said, is Napoli 2, Genoa 2. Napoli entered this match already knowing that Inter had beaten Torino, so they were level on points with all the pressure on. That's always really
psychologically imposing.
That season where Milan won the league, and Inter had that game in hand. It was a lot. And then there was the debate of, are the team that play first being preferred to the team that are playing second because they play with less pressure? Whatever. Key absentees for Napoli still out of the team are Bongiorno and Juan Jesus. Lobotka was a risk coming off injured for the past 2 games, but he started this game. Rafa Marin didn't start in the central of defense, and Oliveira was once again chosen over him. Genoa were coming off a 3-game losing streak. Several absentees, including Malinowski, Miretti, Balotelli, Cornet, Ekuban, Maturo, and the suspended Thorsby. And Benjamin Siegrist made his Serie A debut for Genoa between the sticks. That's a 33-year-old Swiss goalkeeper, I believe. Yesterday they got from Rapid Bucharesti.
Yes, you might recognize him from his days at Aston Villa. He was there on and off between 2013 and 2016, and he was at Celtic in 2022, and at Genoa, of course, in 2025. Yeah,
amazing. So, like I said, Lobotka was a risk coming into this game. Clearly, Conte, well, it doesn't take a genius to know how important he is for the team. It was a risk to start him, especially with the away game against Parma coming off. They started him, and in the 13th minute he was forced off due to his recurring ankle injury, which he really hasn't had time to recover from, and he was replaced by Billy Gilmore. I will ask you what you think about that later. I'll just finish the play-by-play real quickly. Thankfully for Napoli, 3 minutes later, Lukaku scored, and it was that classic McTominay-Lukaku combination that got them that good finish by Lukaku. Typically when Lukaku scores, it means they win the game, but this wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Genoa had the crossbar moments after. It was Pinamonti who headed a Vitinha free kick onto the top of the bar. Then 2 minutes later, as Genoa were pressing, Meret scored an own goal. It was once again a Vitinha free kick into the box. Honest Ahanor headed it off the post and it ricocheted in off Meret's body. In the 64th minute, Raspadori scored brilliantly. Once again, a McTominay assist. Raspadori took the ball into the box and absolutely smashed it past Siegrist. Only for Genoa to equalise in the 84th through Johan Vasquez, who rose highest. Well, not highest, he just went behind the two defenders trying to clear it. To nod in Aaron Martin's cross to make it 2-2. Billing did have... there was a late miss for Napoli as Billing headed a David Neres cross just wide from close range in stoppage time. You yelled goal when you saw that, and Sarah said that is such an ick when you say goal and it doesn't go in. And I have to agree with her.
It's my red flag, right? That's the thing that I do the most, that I'm extremely aware of, but I just won't stop doing it.
Yeah,
because I prematurely shout goal.
You always jinx it, and let's not talk about the things you prematurely do. Yo.
Honest Tahanor is Italian, by the way.
He is Italian, Nigerian.
Where's the number 69?
Fucking legend. He's 17 years old, which probably explains why he wears the number 69. It's his 6th appearance for Genoa this season. He's been at the club since he was 5 years old. We'll see what kind of trajectory his career goes through, essentially, but a great start. He offers quite a few pros. One thing that I liked about him was that he was energetic throughout the entire match. And I think for a 17-year-old, despite his pace and his stature, impressive strength for a 17-year-old, really holding off players.
Quite nudge him off the ball very easily, right?
Yeah, at 17 years old, bro, I'm telling you.
It's super impressive.
You're surrounded by 32-year-olds who've been hitting the gym for as long as you've been alive, essentially. Very, very impressive. Lobotka, let's talk about Conte's decision to start Lobotka. Now, we know Lobotka is, I think if you were to think of the most important player to a singular club in Serie A, whether or not Lobotka is the top one, he comes to mind and he's part of the conversation. Napoli tick with him, they tick significantly less without him. Was it a risk worth taking? Of course, it didn't pay off.
I think we all knew what Conte was going to do, right? If Lobotka is available with 3 games to go, even if he's at 60%, Conte's probably going to play him. This game was a must-win because the Parma game is way more difficult than this one, right? Genoa don't really have anything to play for, and as you can see, they've already started to introduce certain pieces into the team that might not regularly feature if it weren't for their confirmed safety. So this was the game to win, the game to go out with your strongest 11 and to try to get this done. So you kind of take a little bit of pressure off for that Parma game. So it's unfortunate though that he relapsed. He's really struggled with this injury, and I'm sure it isn't helping the fact that he's being rushed back every week. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the starting 11 against Parma next week as well.
Because he's come off injured. This is the third
time in a row. Yes, I can't even remember a time where I've seen something like this, bro.
Right.
It's bizarre, but of course, I would have bet money that Conte would have started him if he had the option to.
Yeah, I mean, it is Conte during a title charge,
exactly.
Right? It's Conte in the lead of a title charge, but it's almost inhumane for Lobotka to be.
I felt bad for him, man. Like, how many times are you going to see this guy on the floor holding his knee?
Literally, and let me tell you what, if Billy Gilmore isn't good enough to start the game, he will be. I'm a firm believer of throw them into the fire in the devil's pit and watch them adapt. Billy Gilmore has shown great signs playing alongside Stanislav Lobotka. This is someone that trains alongside Stanislav Lobotka, and it's someone that he's a quick learner, Gilmore, as we've seen this season. I think showing some more trust in him wouldn't exactly be a bad thing. And we know Conte, he's really shown us this season that he can come up with a plan B. So I'm sure there is a way for him to restructure the midfield to be able to get the best out of his players and to offer something not similar to what Lobotka brings, but at least offers a different strength. like maybe having a way more physical partnership and then having Di Lorenzo coming up and distributing the ball himself. I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely, it seems a little bit naive to risk a player like Lobotka, because maybe you rest him for 1 week, he'll be back for the last 2 games of the season. Like this, he's aggravated an injury that's recurring, so it seems a little bit foolish, perhaps, of Conte. However, man, take nothing away from this Genoa side. Of course, they've got a midfield that ticks very nicely. Friendrup is one of the most underrated midfielders in the league.
For sure.
He's been for the past 2 seasons.
One of the most consistent midfielders I've seen. Not consistent. He's the kind of player that you appreciate when he's invisible in a match.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well put.
So it's not like you're going to see him stand out and you say, wow, what a great player he is. But he's the first name on the team sheet for Genoa, to put it simply.
Exactly. And even Mazzini put in a shift as well in the middle over there, winning many duels, fighting, and just the thing is with Genoa, they're playing without that fear, without pressure. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a little bit easier to just sit back and absorb. And as we know, Napoli are a team that don't really have many offensive, creative players. So the players they have are decent. They're very good on counter-attacks, for example, where you hoof the ball route 1 to Lukaku, knock down to one of your more technical teammates and try to kind of work your way in. But it feels like they're often trying to create through Politano out wide to Spinazzola on the other side, or just simply knock down Raspadori, like where their goal came from.
Fucking play the ball to Scott McTominay, who in the last 10 games of the season is essentially Steven Gerrard in that second half in Istanbul. The way that he's been playing, just that's consistently true. Here he gets 2 assists, almost gets a goal himself. He forced a really good save out of Segrist at a point. But I'm done talking about how good McTominay is.
It's the fact that he knows how to maneuver between defense and midfield so effectively, man. And this game in particular, he still managed to get an assist off, but Genoa really reduced that gap, and he struggled a little bit more, despite, of course, getting 2 assists. Actually, I'm just realizing.
Genoa, however, had a good game plan. Vieira's men. You notice what they did? They completely look at Napoli's 3 defenders, lacking Buongiorno over there. Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Oliveira. So that's 2 wing backs and essentially Rahmani, who is great with another centre back on, but perhaps alone he's not much of that imposing figure that is essentially needed. He is the Matip to the Van Dijk. He is essentially the Rahmani to the Koulibaly and the Rahmani to the Buongiorno, so on and so forth. They absolutely spammed crosses. They spammed the fuck out of those crosses. You see, both their goals, I have them written down somewhere. So Pinamonti hit the crossbar from a cross. Honest Ahanor forced Meret's own goal from a cross. Vasquez's equalizer from a cross. And you absolutely see over there that Billing, despite obviously Conte brings on Billing for his sides and that he could perhaps get to the end of a ball, both offensively and defensively, really failed to impose himself in that area. Oliveira barely made an effort to get that ball away. Johan Vasquez was behind them. So essentially, Oliveira was sandwiched between Billing and Vasquez. And Vasquez managed to get to it. Defending set pieces and defending crosses, especially those deep fucking high crosses that Genoa love giving, and with Vitinha on the pitch even more so, Napoli couldn't contain them. And this is a Napoli that have had the best defense in the league for the entire season. One of the best defenses in Europe. Not individually, but because it's a Conte team, right?
Yeah.
But here, Genoa, what they did was they really managed to not showcase, to expose the individuals. So they don't concede because it's a Conte system. But individually, they're not insane defenders. Genoa exposed that with the crosses.
Very good point. Even the fact that they played Vitinha, who has been deployed as a number 9, as a left winger, kind of gives them the opportunity to have 2 strikers up front in Vitinha and Pinamonti. Messias can tuck left, Norton Coffey can tuck right, and suddenly you've got kind of like 2 wingers and 2 strikers, as you're saying, and overlapping fullbacks. In reality, Genoa this game had 2 shots on target and they scored 2 goals. So it's a matter of as well quality finishing compared to Napoli, who I believe had Let me just double check exactly how many shots on target Napoli had compared. 11 shots on target.
Siegrist. Shout out to Siegrist, huh?
Massive performance.
Because it's not easy facing 11 shots in a single match and only conceding 2. Anything else I want to add from my end? Of course, I do think that had Lobotka been on the pitch, Genoa would have had less success dispossessing Napoli and putting that much pressure on Napoli. Perhaps with Lobotka on the pitch, Napoli could have gotten away with a victory. But Genoa did a great job to really spice the league up, and that is bragging rights for Genoa. You go in, you say they have nothing to play for. They want to screw up the title for Napoli. They want to go down in history as the team that fucked up Napoli's chances, the same way Verona are the team that fucked up Napoli's chances.
Exactly, and they're still famous for it nowadays, right? Fatal Verona, as they call them. Yeah, we can move on to Torino against Inter. Bro, this game was a 2-0 victory for Inter away from home, and it was raining tigers and wolves, bro.
Yo.
That's in my prep.
Amazing.
What a joke.
It's of cats and dogs, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Because it's more, right?
Bigger animals. Exactly. More fierce animals.
Yes, Inter won 2-0. Zalewski opened the scoring in the 14th minute and he got the man of the match award after a brilliant performance. He chopped inside, curled into the bottom corner. Lovely goal, absolute peach of a goal. Aslani scored the penalty in the 49th minute after Vanya dropped Taremi, who was played through one-on-one. Aslani stepped up, sent Vanya the wrong way, and please keep in mind that Vanya is a penalty specialist, and he saved 4, was it, this season? There was a great double save, as mentioned in the intro, by Vanya Milinkovic-Savic on Correa and Çalhanoğlu, and another great save on Correa's volley later on in the game. While Martinez also had an excellent save on Shea Adams. Of course, Inter's side almost totally rotated, barring Bastoni. Everyone, including the goalkeeper, was rested. Torino, on the other hand, giving some... would I even say they're giving some new names a chance? There was Dembele as right back, who's been playing a bit. But other than that, familiar faces all around. We have Ricci, Lozaro, Genetis, Elmas, Vlasic. They're still going strong with their team. They've got as we've often said, quite a good foundation over here to build from.
Yeah.
I think that Torino's most impressive player this game was Biraghi, to be honest with you. I thought he created a lot, and it could be the fact that he is an ex-Inter player, so he had that extra bit of motivation to perform, as we often see.
Yeah. I think Elmas was very involved, as he always is. Became a little bit predictable as the game went on. Elmas, I feel like that's on Torino because they simply kept playing the ball out wide to Elmas, who was essentially always cutting in and either taking it to the byline or trying at least to become a bit unpredictable. Sometimes early cross, sometimes taking it to the byline and cutting it back, sometimes trying to take on his man. But facing the seasoned Darmian, who at right wing back offers a lot of defensive stability and experience. I remember us talking about there was a derby della Madonnina coming up, and we're like, okay, who's gonna win, Dumfries or Teo? Surprisingly, they started Darmian, and he just pocketed Teo completely and even got an assist early on himself.
I remember that. Darmian is the type of player who is Mr. Reliable, right?
Exactly.
Yes. When it comes to this game, it was business as usual by Inter, who are very confident right now, and yes, they've got a lot of belief. Even the subs, it's kind of spread throughout the entire team. This mentality and this belief and this good form. That Zalewski goal was an absolute peach, and I liked Inzaghi's tactical tweak over there to play an inverted wing back, which is something we don't often see right from Inzaghi.
And not the 3-5-2. He played the 3-4-2-1, which we're not used to seeing at all. The role of Zalewski was a very interesting one because it did a lot of the times seem like a 3-5-2, with Zalewski almost looking like a mezzala at times, with Zielinski and Aslani being the controllers and Zalewski being that kind of train that strays a little bit wide. Correa oftentimes joining Taremi up front together. But I liked him in that role, Zalewski.
Even me, and they found a lot of success, particularly in the second half, through playing him in behind. Because Torino were playing a very high line. I don't know if it's because maybe they underestimated Inter's pace, or they thought that with the weather conditions the ball couldn't bounce. But they found quite a bit of success in playing him in behind. But yes, it was a very clean victory by Inter. Who
They
really
seemed
didn't,
really calm.
They didn't suffer much. They really didn't create much. Torino, apart from that Shea Adams shot, which was excellently saved by Martinez, I can't remember another time where they really threatened, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Shall we just discuss the title implications a little bit before we move on? Over here, I just have the fixtures that are remaining for both sides. I know we've exhausted people reading them, but it's good to keep them top of mind. Where are they? Yep. So Napoli have Parma away and then Cagliari home. Inter have Lazio at home and Como away. It's definitely Inter that have the better teams to face. However, Napoli are facing sides that are battling relegation. Parma are not safe. They've just lost to Empoli, and actually they're more in danger than they've been for the majority of the season.
And they're very good in their stadium.
And Cagliari as well.
Yes.
Cagliari are, I believe, on 33 points, and relegation is 28 at the moment. They're on 33 points, and Lecce are on 28. And Parma are on 32. And Lecce are on 28. So they're going to come out to kill Napoli, these two sides.
Yeah.
Did anything change in your mind when it comes to who you think is going to win the league if you had to make a prediction now? I hate predictions, but just to get that conversation
I've had Napoli for a while now. And I thought, by the way, I was under the impression that I picked Napoli from the get-go, from our first prediction episode.
We had in our initial prediction episode.
Yeah.
It was a hot take that we had them top 4.
Yes.
But we had Inter first, Napoli second, and then you had Milan third, I had Juve third, you had Juve fourth, and I had Milan fourth. We both had Atalanta and Roma out of the top 4.
Damn.
Which was like,
Yeah. So, the good thing for Inter is that the Champions League final will take place on the 31st. So it's kind of 6 days after the game against Como.
Yeah.
But I would still expect them to rest a few players against Como. And for Como, that game is going to be kind of like, you're coming to our stadium. You are a title challenger. We are going to fucking put on a show.
And Como, stylistically, are a team Inter should struggle against.
Yes, because they move the ball very, very quickly.
That move the ball quickly, that love to attack down the middle.
Exactly.
Where Inter have been conceding a lot of goals from people darting through the middle.
So if they rest Çalhanoğlu, for example, if they rest their midfield 3, they might find it very difficult. The Lazio game, I see Inter winning, to be honest, because Lazio, at worst, a draw. That would be tragic for Inter, granted.
Keep in mind, Lazio have a lot on the line as well.
Lazio have a lot on the line, but they don't beat the teams above them.
That's true.
They don't beat them, straight up.
Yeah. What they do have is, if Milan and Lazio finish level on points in 4th, which is, again, very rare, but whatever. Lazio have a better record against Milan. So through direct encounter, Lazio would.
Do Lazio have a better record against Milan this season?
I think it's a draw and a win for Lazio.
Okay, so they do
it's
have
that 2-2 where Pavlovic scored a header,
and
there's the more recent one where they won 2-1.
Okay, wow. Yeah. So they have a better record against us, but not everyone else.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Yes, it's going to be a bloody exhilarating end to the season. I'm curious to see what happens to Lobotka. We saw Neres coming in the 88th minute for Napoli. I wonder if he'll be available for their next games. That would be massive for them, because that's a player who, against a low block, he's quite shifty. You never know if he's going to go left or right. He's very good in those
I think
areas.
Napoli are better with Raspadori than Neres.
I
don't know. I don't even know if that's a hot take. I think it's kind of obvious at this point that Raspadori is the way to go.
I mean, the thing is, if you have both, you have a solution. If you've got only one, you have no solution.
And unpredictability. Exactly. He's going to go for Neres. He's going to go for Raspadori. He'd want to keep teams on their toes. Shall we jump to Milan-Bologna?
Yes, sure.
Amazing.
We can even preview the final here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So once again, Milan come from behind to beat a team, of course. Leao was suspended. Fofana was injured along with Bondo and Sotil. Conceição, 0 rotation, fielded the exact same team that came back from behind to beat Genoa last week. Bologna were missing Ndoi, Home, Pedrola and Odgaard. They did rotate a little bit. The rotations included De Silvestri started, Dallinga starting, even though he's been starting, Moro, Ehrlich, Pobega and Dominguez, even though Dominguez is in there to replace the injured Ndoi, it's worth mentioning. There was an injury blow for both teams early on. Tomori went off injured in the 11th, went off injured. It was a tough head-to-head collision that he had, and he ended up being subbed off for Chow. And Ehrlich got injured in the 26th minute, so they did have to bring on their preferred, not Beukema, the Lukumi.
It looked muscular, Ehrlich's injury.
Yep,
Yeah.
I would guess so. First half was quite a snooze fest. There were a few opportunities, especially for Bologna. I'd say they were the better team in the first half, marginally. Wasn't much of a case study. They came out in the second half and immediately, classic goal by Orsolini. He cut inside Pavlovic and curled it into the far corner to make it 1-0. Milan made some substitutions. Dare I say, fantastic substitutions. Before January, Milan did not have the depth to pull off substitutions like this. Jimenez scored in the 57th, moments after coming on. It was a Pulisic assist and he slotted under the keeper. 2 minutes later, he scored offside with a lob.
Yeah.
Jimenez. 65th, it was a Chukwueze cross. Felix's shot was deflected and Pulisic buried it in to make it 2-1. Over here, Bologna hit not the panic button, but they were attacking because they at least knew we can't lose the game. Ideally, they would win the game. Ideally for them, obviously, I don't care. And then Milan took advantage of that. Once again, Chukwueze involved. He cut inside, played it to Jimenez, who cut onto his weaker right foot, absolutely sending De Silvestri wherever De Silvestri likes to be, or hates to be rather, and slotted it into the bottom corner expertly. Brilliant finish once again by Santi. But it was essentially that, right when Milan went 2-1 up, the game completely opened up.
Yeah. I thought that, of course, the first half was extremely cagey, and it's what you'd expect, right? Both teams kind of didn't want to reveal their powers. They didn't want to reveal their hands right early on. So the first half was always going to be a cagey affair. The second half opened up, of course, because Orsolini showed what he can do. He showed exactly what he can do. And Pavlovic showed one of his weaknesses, I think, so far, in an area where he really has to improve.
Yeah.
One of his strengths is that he is extremely aggressive, extremely passionate. He's very good with the ball at his feet. He can drive, Pavlovic. But when it comes to 1v1 defending like that, he's often a little bit erratic. I don't know if it's because he's in his head. He doesn't know if he should commit or not. I think he's still getting used to situations like that.
Also 21 years old, huh?
Exactly.
That's what I would put that down to, because everyone that's played Orsolini at least twice knows what he's gonna do over there. He's gonna cut inside. He's trying to show him to the outside, but not convincingly enough. He's kind of laying back a little bit. Orsolini, he's an expert at the tira gira, and he showed him a bit too much there.
Yes. And this is why the 3 at the back suits Pavlovic a lot, because he's protected. This situation hardly ever happens anymore. When we're 4 at the back with Pavlovic as one of the centre backs, this was
absolutely
very common.
Exactly.
So, yes. In the second half, I do agree with you totally that the substitutions made all the difference for Milan. We often said over here that Santiago Jimenez is a player who, even though his form wasn't great for Milan, we could see in his movement, in his body language, not his body language in the way that he strikes the ball. His form is of an elite striker, of a very good goal scorer. You would see him do all the right movement and miss the target, but it's not as concerning because, this guy has it. It's a matter of confidence. And that goal against Venezia at the end, thank God for that goal.
Absolutely.
Thank God for that.
Absolutely.
Because it's given him the confidence he needs.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked he looked lively in this game.
Oh,
He
man.
looked way better than Jovic.
In front of goal, you could always see that he hits the ball with a certain confidence about him. And one thing is he always hits the target.
Yes,
Santi always hits the target.
Well,
it's a
Honestly, doesn't. but it's true.
nine
This
times
game-
out of 10. Nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, he hits the ball on target. That's
true.
like our constant narrative has been give him the ball in the box.
Yeah.
Give Santi the ball in the
Exactly.
box. In this game, I thought Jovic, as always, served his purpose. Don't think about Jovic scoring 2 goals against Inter. That's a rarity. But his ball control, where he holds off defenders, his center of gravity, he had an excellent game. Well, he had a good game. He gives you what Jovic gives you. What I hope is that, and you said this earlier, I'm going to steal it from you because I liked it. I hope that next season it's not a case where Milan only have strikers that perform when they come off the bench. Because that's what it's kind of seeming like, or they're only dangerous when they come off the bench. Because that's what it's seeming like at the moment.
The best striker from the start, in my opinion, from all these guys is Tammy Abraham, who's unavailable, of course.
But he's so good coming on, man, Tammy.
He's great coming on as well, of course, but for me, look how much people are saying I have to redeem Jovic because of what he did against Inter. For me, Jovic has to go. Because he's too inconsistent, and we've had a long case study of Jovic.
He's not enough.
And just because there were a few times, granted, where he won Milan many games coming off the bench, scoring important goals, every time he was rewarded with a start, he disappointed. You know, bar that freak game against Inter. Now
The
it could
weirdest
be
game in
exactly
history, that was.
the extra motivation on the day. I don't know, but he's given you enough of a sample size to not be redeemed personally. And I think that if you're gonna go for another striker to join the likes of Jimenez, it has to be someone who's on the cheapish side, because you've already splashed 40 million euros or north of 30 million euros, whatever the fuck it was, on Jimenez. So I think if you're gonna go for someone like, I don't know, Lorenzo Lucca, let's say, he's linked.
Let's say.
Yeah, let's say my
Lucca.
favorite striker. Yes, then 20 million on Lucca, and he takes Jovic's place in the squad, and to me that's an upgrade. You've got 3 players who are competent and fighting for that position. That's how I see it.
Yep, not a bad shout.
I thought that as well, Joao Felix's performance was on the positive side this game
On
as
the
well.
positive side, I do think that still, like at a point, he shot where he should have passed and he sent it to the curva, all the way up in the curva. In Pulisic's goal, he should have passed that ball to Pulisic, not a deflected shot falls to Pulisic.
Yes.
But he went for as long as he was on the pitch, which I believe he played 90 minutes. He didn't fucking stop. He was pressing, he was tracking back, which at least gives you something that Leao doesn't in that sense. Even though he's been better.
He's been better.
I just want to highlight the substitutions that were made, because not only did Milan make the right substitutions, but I thought that Bologna might have made some substitutions with tomorrow's game in mind. After they got the goal in the 61st minute, they brought on Cambiaghi for Orsolini, they brought on Castro for Dallinga, which was going to happen obviously, and they brought Abisher on for Pobega. So they used that kind of rotation with the next game in mind. Conceição's substitutions in the 65th minute clearly focused on counter-attacks. Chukwueze, who came on for Jimenez, Chukwueze got an assist, and he was actually involved in every single goal.
He was good at playing
Alex
centrally.
Jimenez.
I've never seen him playing like that.
Right? It
off
was
the
on
shoulder
both
of the-
sides.
Yeah.
Right, left, middle. He was
true.
really, really involved. Walker on for Pavlovic. They both as centre-backs or left centre-backs, right centre-backs offer something quite similar, but I really could notice the difference when Walker came on. He instantly tackled and drove the ball forward extremely well.
You notice Milan changed to a 4-2-3-1 this game.
Ooh, no, I didn't.
Milan changed to a 4-2-3-1 and got the goals, and I feel like it's been happening quite.
I
quite often.
read it on Gazzetta dello Sport. They did that in the last game as well against Genoa.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's
I like
good.
that fluidity.
I like the ability to improvise and to adapt. And apparently Conceição really isn't a massive fan of the 3 at the back formation. He only does it because he feels he has to.
Whatever Conceição is doing right now with how he's playing with Milan, keep on doing it, because at this stage, if he wins the Wednesday game, no-brainer, keep him. If he wins the Wednesday game, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Just to say the last substitution,
Agreed,
sorry, Santi Jimenez, who came on for Jovic, obviously scored those 2 goals. Let's look ahead a bit at the Coppa Italia final. Of course, Milan are going to be confident coming into this. Bologna, I think it's a completely different stage. They're going to go in with a driven mentality. I don't think they'll be too knocked back from the defeat over here. We've seen Inter lose 3 games in a row and then go and come 3-3 against Barcelona in the Champions League and knock out Bayern Munich, so on and so forth. So I think form is not going to play a factor in this Coppa Italia game.
Yes, it won't. However, if you had to look, of course, apart from the direct head-to-head that was just played, Bologna have dipped while Milan have actually risen a lot.
1 win in their last 6 games.
Exactly, 1 win in the last 6 isn't a joke, and that will be on the back of their mind. Of course, they will understand, as De Silvestri said. De Silvestri literally said after the game against Milan that he's not too worried because the Coppa Italia final is a one-off game, anything can happen. Where he's totally right. Now, where I would worry if I were a Bologna fan is at the man on the bench. The man pulling the
I knew
strings.
this was going to come. This was going to come.
So, Conceição has won 9 cups in his career.
Insane.
Okay, that's, of course...
The Portuguese ones.
Yes. Well, and 1 Supercoppa.
Yo!
So that's massive. He is somewhat of a cup specialist. He is somewhat of as the man you would want on your bench in a final, to be honest with you, because he's a great motivator and he hardly ever loses from the sample size we have. Whereas Italiano, since 2023, has made it, of course, to 3 finals and he's lost all of them. Now, granted, he was the underdog in 2 of them. However, in that final against Olympiacos...
Should have won
that one, right? It was, of course, in 2023, they came against West Ham. He was at Fiorentina. They lost 2-1. Coppa Italia 2023, lost 2-1 to Inter. And 2024 against Olympiacos, lost 1-0 in extra time. So that, I think, will play the biggest factor. Not to mention the fact that Milan's players do have experience on the stage. Remember, most of these guys were in that Champions League semi-final.
Yeah. Could Italiano potentially, certainly demand more out of his team because he has a chip on his shoulder? A chip on the shoulder scares me, huh? A chip on a manager's shoulder, on a player's shoulder, or whatever really scares me because it's an extra motivation. I doubt Milan are going in like expecting to win or relaxed or overconfident or whatever. But Italiano is definitely obsessed with the idea of winning this game, as is Conceição, because his job is on the line.
Of course.
There are a lot of implications here. Bologna won 1 game in their last 6. Their Champions League ambitions are almost over.
And they haven't won a trophy in over 50 years.
They want to at least secure Europa League. They have 1 game to do it over here.
Yeah.
They should put everything and anything into winning this game. Just don't pay anyone, obviously.
Absolutely. These are the projected lineups according to Gazzetta. So, Maignan in goal, Walker, Gabbia, Pavlovic, Jimenez.
So, 3-4-2-1.
3-4-2-1, yes. So, Maignan, Walker, Gabbia, Pavlovic, Jimenez, Loftus-Cheek, Reinders, Theo, Pulisic, Joao Felix, and Jovic. Wait, that can't be right. There should be
this.
Yeah, that's probably this. There should be Leao there. But
Leao
probably,
over Joao Felix.
And it will be that, probably. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts Santi Jimenez after that performance. So, yeah. Whereas for Bologna, yes, this makes sense, actually. Probably with Castro, I think, instead of Dallinga. What do you think? Since Dallinga got the start in the league?
Potentially. Dallinga has been starting ahead of Castro, and Castro's been coming on. Weird. I prefer Castro.
Same.
He definitely sees something I don't, as in that sense. But apparently, Dan Ndoye might not be ready for this game, but he might make the bench. It's a slow recovery. It said initially that he was out for the rest of the season, but if they're going to fast track him, they'll fast track him. Now is the time. Because everything is on the line at this moment. So that might be a little scare for Milan. If they bring Dan Ndoye on in the 75th minute, I'll be crapping my pants, personally.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Bologna start with Calabria on the right side instead of De Silvestri. I'm not even going to read this. This is the wrong projected lineup, to be honest. Fuck Gazzetta. Yes, so probably Calabria will start. I wouldn't be surprised at all, since Holm is injured and De Silvestri started this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if Milan start Walker, man.
Ooh.
Like, why wouldn't you have Walker
as a
in your
centre back
team?
or as a right wing back?
I think as a centre-back, unless Milan rock up with a 4 at the back system, which would be crazy, I don't think that will happen. But I think as a right centre-back, to be honest. I don't know. I just see it as...
Tomori still, because technically with a concussion, Tomori might not be able to start, dog.
What's the
with
protocol?
A concussion, I believe you have to spend at least a week not playing or not training.
Oof.
I believe there's a protocol that says that around a week. So if it were next game against Roma, which is on a Sunday, he'll be able to play. But for this Wednesday match, don't take my word for it. But okay. I believe there's a protocol for concussions.
I remember seeing something as well, bro. But basically my point is you have Kyle Walker, who's got all this experience.
He won the treble.
He's won the treble. He was a key player in that role. What he perhaps lacks in youth, he makes up for in experience. Right? And in a one-off game, this is where you do it. Also, been really enjoying the battles between Dominguez and Jimenez this season. And I mean the young Jimenez, little Jimenez, the winger Jimenez. They are great, those two. They're always shit-talking each other. They have their own little war going on, and I'm all for it.
I feel like I don't verbalize how much I enjoy Alex Jimenez. It's really not easy to be a 19-year-old from Milan Futura and just staple yourself in the starting lineup where essentially, okay, the system didn't change completely for him, but he fits the system perfectly and he's exactly what is needed as a right wing back. He's hot-headed. Of course, he's 19 years old, but I haven't seen him get a red card of the sort.
Because everyone's grabbing him and
and he'd be
purple, not even red,
bro. Literally. But he's great, man. I comment. 19 years old. It's a joke how consistently in the starting 11.
And that's why I enjoy the battle with Dominguez especially so much, because Dominguez is another great talent, another teenager who is making waves in Serie A, and just watching those two guys go head to head when they're so confident and so like fearless. It's so good to see.
For sure, man. For sure.
Good to see.
We're not doing predictions. We can move on to the next game.
Yes, but you heard our predictions in the last episode.
Very superstitious.
Is it my turn? Yes, it is. Lazio 1, Juve 1. This was an extremely dramatic clash for Champions League qualification. Of course, Colomwani gave Juve the lead early in the second half with a very smart header. I don't know if you noticed the movement on Romagnoli, but he bamboozled him, bro.
Yeah.
He faked his run like he was going to go in front of him and quickly changed it last second. And if you look, he was being marked by Romagnoli, but he had a free header. That is the kind of movement that you tell children to
literally.
Yeah, great goal.
He knew exactly where the ball was gonna go. He feinted like to the that's the area I shouldn't be. Yeah. So he sent the defender to that area. Exactly.
Then Kalulu got sent off because he lashed out at Castellanos. Now, Castellanos. I would love a statistic to see how many times
red cards
forced
he draws.
A red card, because he must be the worst to play against.
I
Speaking of someone who's constantly yapping.
He has a punchable face as well, in the most lovable way, Tati. I appreciate your trade.
I'm all for this type of player. You know, I love it. I love to watch it. He's constantly pinching and pulling and stepping on people. Even if they're down, he'll take a step on their foot a little bit, you know. Like,
how many times would you be watching Lazio and you confuse Castellanos for Zaccagni? Because me a lot, huh?
They do have a similar strut about them. And they both don't score as much as they should. Of course, with Juve down to 10 men, Lazio piled the pressure and they eventually broke through. They were awful, Lazio, this game.
They really were.
They finally broke through in the 96th minute when who else but Vecino slammed in an equalizer after a series of Di Gregorio saves. Kendrick had called it and he was so happy he had called it. He was like, Vecino! He always scores when Champions League qualification is on the line.
You remember?
Just like 7 years ago at Inter.
Vecino, literally, only big goals he scores, Vecino. I remember that season when Napoli ran away with it, Lazio beat them 1-0 with a Vecino screamer.
Yeah.
Did Lazio finish second that season? I believe they did.
The one Juve won?
No, when Napoli won the league.
Napoli won the league? I don't know. No, Lazio didn't finish second that season. I don't think so.
I think they did.
Check it. But yes, Di Gregorio made some massive saves before that Vecino goal, but it was enough to keep that top 4 race wide open. But Lazio, they did. Wow. But Lazio will be very disappointed by their performance. And Baroni at the end said this was a good performance. I'm happy.
He always says that, hey, Baroni. It's become
he's an optimist.
His mantra.
And I don't know if he should be happy, because prior to that red card, they were rubbish. After the red card, they were rubbish. And at the end, they started piling the pressure and they actually looked dangerous. They reminded me of those games under Pioli, man.
I know
where
what you
Milan
mean.
would do nothing all game. Then in the last 5-10 minutes, there's a whole lot of direct, super direct play, lots of crosses, lots of panicked sequences. Like, it looked like that.
Just in general, they leave a lot to be desired, Lazio, and it comes down to, it's not that they don't have a great team, but it's that their top players, which nowadays are few top players, aka Zaccagni, essentially, aren't on the best form. So they rely on things like Pedro, they rely on things like Vecino to get these goals out of nowhere. They rely a lot on jollies. Castellanos isn't exactly a guy that gets you a bunch of goals. Dia has been really on and off. He didn't even start in this game. It was Dele Bashiru, which I understand, to give some more stability to the midfield with Rovella and Guendouzi. But I thought they were. I thought that they left. Not only did they leave a lot to be desired, but they had a really weak performance. I don't think Juve, by any stretch of the imagination, had a fantastic performance either.
Not at all either, especially the coach.
It's crazy to think these two teams are battling for fourth.
Yeah. Did you notice he brought on, what's his name, Atsic, and took him out again?
Yes.
He brought him on for like 10 minutes.
That happened
literally.
with someone else this week.
With Conceição as well. He brought on Conceição and took him out as well. He did it with 2 players this game, Tudor. He's absolutely what adjective am I going to use over here? Bizarre. Let's use bizarre. I'm not quite sure what he's doing there. But I mean, probably the red card forced his hand a little bit, maybe forced him to change his game plan. But yes, it was definitely a subpar performance by both teams. Yes, I agree.
To be honest, this is 2 points lost for Juve, and it's a point gained for Lazio. I know they both stayed exactly where they were, but this is essentially to keep the pressure on Juve, a great result for Lazio. Considering their performance, I know they were at home, but they simply weren't up for it. They weren't up for it, and they got gifted a red card by Kalulu. It's not like they took advantage of that and they were all over Juve. They put some pressure on them at the end, but they managed to get the point, and that was the most important thing for them, eh?
Yeah, I guess so. They're currently tied. Now it's up to... I mean, they have to play Inter now, Lazio. The good thing about this game for Lazio was that they had to treat it like a final. They had to go in there and fucking get it completely right. And especially when you look back in hindsight, bro, and you think that Pierre Kalulu got sent off. Let me tell you exactly the minute that he got sent off. And so more accurate... In the 60th minute for violent conduct. You'd expect them to, turn it around and then to really put on a show and play like it's a final, play like everything is on the line. Sometimes there's a bit of, I don't know, man. I'm not sure if it's complacency, exhaustion. They look tired as well, Lazio. The fact that they started the season, they were rotating everyone was getting involved. They looked really fit, they looked really fresh. They were attacking this nice football and all that. Nowadays, it seems like he's eased up on the rotation. He's playing the same guys. Maybe he's not trusting the players brought in January at all. So there's a little bit of maybe fear now in this Lazio team.
It looks like the case. I'm also going to go back on what I said, that this is, considering the performance, a good result for Lazio, because looking at the big picture, Lazio, of course, have to play Inter away from home, and then they play Lecce, who are battling relegation.
This was a final.
Juve still have Udinese, who just lost to last place, already relegated, Monza, and then they play Venezia away. It's not going to be easy, but it's they can do it. So Lazio really had an opportunity here to at least overtake at least momentarily being in the top four and give themselves that grinta going into the Inter game, who they do have a bad record against Inter, but in the past few years they were a bit of a bogey team for them. Back-to-back seasons they beat them 3-1. I remember that infamous moment when who was it that jumped on the back of Patrick and Correa.
Correa, literally. This was the moment for Lazio, and they didn't take it at all. Juve, going into their next two games, granted they're Udinese and Lecce. Lecce probably the worst team in the league. Udinese, nothing really to play for, but a very tough gig, even though they just lost to Monza. But keep in mind that it is the Lorenzo Lucca versus one defender. Vega. Everyone else is unavailable. So now Juve will be without Yildiz. They'll be without Kalulu, granted. Just to remind you that Yildiz is sent off. He's not a centre-back by no means. But Gatti isn't exactly fit right now. And then they've got a bunch of centre-backs unavailable. Of course, Bremer Cabal. They've got Lloyd Kelly unavailable. You know, they've got all their centre-backs pretty much out except for Vega.
Yeah.
So makeshift centre-backs will have to do for this one. And I wonder if he'll go with the three at the back.
And Udinese, they're a very man-for-man team.
Exactly.
They're going to make it tough for them. They're going to be pulling out their shirts, going to be barging into them.
That Isaac Toure, Lucca, and
literally,
just play on set
just
pieces.
The Twin Towers, man. Yo. Tudor, and then just fucking, doing whatever happened. So next we've got Empoli 2, Parma 1. However, we still also have Venezia, Fiorentina left. I know that's your game, but I think it would make a lot of sense to do that now, because we could discuss, of course, the relegation battle, but also Fiorentina's implications for top four and whatever. So if you don't mind, let's jump into that.
Of course. So Venezia actually won this game 2-1, a very rare victory for Venezia, and they showed up and they played with their fucking heart on their sleeve, man. They put in such a good performance, and this time they opted for a different start. Venezia, different starting 11. They ditched Gitkier, which I was very happy to see, and they went for a counter-attacking team.
Yeah.
They went for a team that would prioritize width and creative expression.
Yeboah has also been great recently.
He has. But it makes more sense like this, bro. Yeboah, Oristano, Zerbin out wide, and then you have Ellertson on the other side. And then, of course, you've got Kike Perez and Buzio flanking Nicolucci Caviglia. That, to me, is a very technical, very capable team, to be honest with you.
Can I just say that coming into this game, Empoli had won a massive 6-pointer coming before this game against Parma.
Yes.
So, Venezia, it was an absolute non-negotiable that they had to beat Fiorentina. Who were in the Conference League semi-finals against Betis and got knocked out, by the way.
Yeah, and fatigue played a part, of course, and Keane was also unavailable for this game. Once again, don't know what's going on there. But yes, a very gritty, counter-heavy performance by Venezia. It was a compact 4-3-3, very disciplined midfield, dangerous on the counter. Fiorentina, they lacked sharpness in both boxes, lining up with, of course, a possession-heavy setup that lacked the cutting edge, similar to what we had got used to with them under Italiano, as we always say.
Exactly.
So it was Kande who opened the scoring in the 60th minute. Fali Kande to get his first ever goal in Serie A, the centre-back. Kike Perez stood across from the right. Kande chested the ball down and smashed it in on the bounce from close range, while Fiorentina's defence stood still, offering absolutely no resistance. And then it was Oristano who made it 2-0 8 minutes later after Venezia hit them on the counter, and this was right after Ranieri's deflected shot struck the post. So they countered off that. They were close to going from 1-1 to 2-0. Venezia broke quickly. Zerbin swung in a deep cross to the far post, and Oristano rose to head it in. From an extremely tight angle, you'd expect that's a goal Gitkier should get, not Oristano, but he did very, very well to double the lead, and Venezia needed that. And it's not often that they take a 2-goal lead, Venezia. Usually they have a slim 1-goal lead,
and then they give it up.
Exactly. And then who other than the very informed Rolando Mandragora, who should change his name to Ronaldo Mandragora. Lately he's been playing so well.
Ronaldo Maradona.
Ronaldo Maradona with a goal. He had a quick exchange with Dodo. He slipped, but he doesn't give a shit. from the floor, he just hoofed the ball into the back of the net.
Really
A very powerful
cool
shot
goal.
considering he was on the floor.
Really cool goal by a guy that we said he might not be enough in a two-man midfield for Fiorentina, but he has had one hell of a season, especially in recent history. Well, in the last 10-15 games, he's been excellent.
All he's lacked in his career, Mandragora, is continuity.
Exactly.
Injuries have halted him. He's gone on these sprees before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair.
So why did Venezia win?
I don't think Fiorentina were expecting that adjustment that you mentioned. And I thought Venezia brought a lot of energy because obviously they had to win because Empoli had just beaten Parma. So Venezia were essentially in a lot of trouble. And B, because Di Francesco set them up in such a way that allowed them to utilize pace, Oristano, Yeboah, Ellertson, Zerbin. On the other hand, Fiorentina were coming off a midweek devastating result to Betis that went... Did it go 120 minutes? Did the game go 120 minutes? Yes.
It did, yes. They scored an extra time.
So, nonetheless, an exhausting game, and that was on Thursday, and then this game was on Monday in Venice. And I just don't feel like they had the energy and they had the cool heads to put up with it.
Of course.
And a loss in the semi-final against Betis, not only that exhausted them physically, but also it drowned their morale quite a bit from what it seems. And then you go to Venice and you come up against 11 hungry motherfuckers running at you because they want to survive because Empoli already won that game. Venezia made the most of it and they put in a great performance. And Di Francesco, congratulations, because what he did worked completely.
It's true. He almost anticipated that Fiorentina's biggest game plan will be to box in Nicolosi Caviglia.
Yeah.
And they played around him, which is crazy to me. Yeah, they did so well. They did really well this game. Venezia.
And Caviglia at a point, my God, man, he does this every game. He tried to catch De Gea.
Yeah, from a free
He
kick.
tried to catch De Gea.
He got so close.
And he almost did, man. I'm obsessed with Nicolosi Caviglia.
He's great, man. He's great. He's really
Unbelievable.
good. This game, he was literally in a cage all game.
Literally.
Yeah, so that's it. Great game. Of course, Fiorentina really struggle without Moiskin. They don't really have a like-for-like. Beltran isn't quite the same type of profile as Fiorentina. They had to rotate a little bit, of course, with Endur and Richardson starting behind them. The exhaustion played a part, the lack of Keane, the counter-attacking philosophy of Venezia, and that would be enough to give Venezia some temporary relief.
Yeah. Fiorentina, of course, second loss in a row. After this, they have to play against Bologna on Sunday, and then they have to play against Udinese the following week. Their second loss in a row because obviously before this they lost to Roma with the score of 1-0. Before that, they were on a great run. It was looking like they were within touching distance still of that fourth place. They were doing most things right, at least at that point, but they've dropped down to 9th now on 59 points. Milan have overtaken them, and it just seems like they're starting to distance themselves from that conversation.
Absolutely, and it only makes sense, right? I mean, they had a great start to the season, they showed promising signs, but at the end of the day, it's a new coach, many new players, a relatively young team, not the youngest, they're not teenagers, but they're in their mid-20s to early 20s, so yes, next season will be better for Fiorentina.
Exactly. Let's jump to the game that took place before that with Empoli 2, Parma 1. Of course, a relegation battle. A win for Parma would have confirmed their survival.
It's a win for Tyson.
A win for Parma is a win for Tyson and is a win for Napoli because it'll make that Napoli away game to Parma a lot easier for Napoli. While a loss would drag them back into the serious danger of relegation, a huge opportunity for Empoli, who anticipated a Venezia loss to Fiorentina, and in brackets, LOL. Empoli's absentees, Colombo, suspended after the controversial red card against Lazio. Injuries to Yusuf Maleh, Kwame, Pellegri, Haas, Zurkowski, and Sazanov. However, there was the return of Grassi and Liam Henderson from their bans. Parma also with a long list of absentees: Mihaila, Bernabe, Cancelleri, Vogliacco, Estevez, Kowalski, and Charpentier. Charpentier sounds like a rapper. We haven't addressed it. Charpentier. In the 11th minute, Fazzini opened the scoring for Empoli. It was a smart, short corner kick routine. He shouldn't have been in that space, but it was an intelligent little run off the ball, and he hoofed it into the roof of the net.
When you can't get anything going, these are the goals you have to go for.
Literally.
Great goal.
The importance of set-piece routines and having set-piece takers, essentially, and if not set-piece routines, when your team struggles to score. And if there's one thing Empoli have struggled to do all season, more than keep clean sheets, so on and so forth, it's going forward. And then after this, we were at the wedding when this game was happening. I'm looking for you all over the place because Parma got a red card. And it was Valenti who got 2 reckless yellow cards in 5 minutes. Stupid.
I think people are tired, man, because
stupid.
Yildiz lashing out.
Man.
Kalulu lashing out. This guy pulling the t-shirt.
One. He's on a yellow and he pulls his shirt
it's
like
literally,
that.
He's telling him, send me off.
Literally. Well,
Like literally ring a bell for service, you know?
In the 31st minute in a relegation 6-pointer. What the fuck is Valenti doing? But anyway, red card against all odds. And then, so at this point, what Empoli are doing are impressing me defensively. Shades of the Empoli of the first half of the season, with Ismaili at the heart of that. How good is it to have Ismaili back for Empoli? Because he was having a great performance, and the defense just looks different.
And the Guardians of the Galaxy in Liam Henderson and Grassi, protecting the defense.
Literally. In the 73rd minute, however, it was a Juric header at the back post towards Boni. Boni went to make contact, missed it. Keeper anticipated Boni to make contact, went to collect it, ball went in. Boni points at Juric. That's your goal. And it was Juric's goal. It served as a dummy, almost, what Boni trying to get to the end of that.
I found it really funny how Juric ran up to Boni to celebrate with him. Boni pointed at him and told him it's your goal. He turned around and just ran off.
Jumped over the advertising boards at 5 kilometers an hour.
It's his first ever goal for Parma.
Yes, it is. He got injured immediately as he joined Parma. He is also in the top 5 leagues despite all his injuries and despite how many times he wasn't starting football matches. In the top 5 leagues, he destroys everyone for headers won. He kills everyone. No one comes close.
Budget Zlatan.
Literally. However, then in the 86th minute, now here I was looking for you at the wedding, bro. Empoli 2. Empoli get their second goal, obviously. Anjorin curls in an absolute beauty from the edge of the area. If Venezia didn't win that game, it would have been it was still scenes because they had no knowledge of Venezia winning the game after them, right? But absolute scenes as he secured 3 points for them over there. They got their first win since December, ending a 20-game drought. And at that point, they had leapfrogged Venezia into 17th place, breaking their 20-game winless run in Serie A. 5 months without a win, where they had 5 draws and 15 defeats. Their last victory was 4-1 against Verona back in December. They needed this like I need to take a breath.
Big Anja. 87th minute equalizer against Venezia, massive goal. And now the winner against Parma at the end as well in the 86th minute. What a big game player. All of a sudden out of nowhere. And clearly you can see that when he comes on, he would be ready to go. You know, he'd be dying to contribute to the game. And that's a nice quality to have. He's English, for those who don't know, and his first name is Faustino.
Faustino, the Englishman.
Faustino Anjorin.
I know a Faustino.
No way.
Yes. He's
know
the guy that owns Sotto in Malta.
His name is
Fausto. I'm sure it's short for Faustino. Fausto,
could be.
I believe his name is.
He was at Chelsea, for those
okay.
Prem fans who are listening.
Came up through the ranks at Chelsea.
Mala.
Wow.
He's
A
been
few loan spells here and there. around Europe and at Huddersfield, Portsmouth. And
Big Ange.
Yeah, Big Ange. Congratulations to him. Amazing goal. However, he's going to need to get used to doing that in Serie B.
Empoli's setup is extremely defensive from the sides at the bottom. Them and barring Lecce, but Lecce it's more like personnel because Giampaolo of course has a more offensive philosophy.
Yes.
But Empoli are the most defensive side in the relegation battle. If you look at this starting 11, they've got two players who aren't defensive minded. They've got Fazzini and Esposito.
Exactly.
Because you look at Giasi and Pezzella, the main reason you play them is to press and to defend. Granted, they're both they're relatively competent going forward, and particularly Pezzella this season. Giasi has never been the most potent unless it's against a top 3 team in the 94th minute. And Henderson and Grassi, of course, give you a whole lot of utility in the middle as well. And Cacace as well is a fullback, essentially.
It doesn't help that they have all the injuries that they do.
Not at all.
Because they do have certain personnel that can attack a little bit more that simply aren't on the pitch.
We're of course referring to
Colombo, Kwame, even Haas,
Pellegrini
and
has hit form.
Surkovsky, and Male. Male is typically the starting central midfielder. They don't have two holding midfielders over there. The fact that Colombo is out of the team means that Cacace needs to start at left wing instead of having Fazzini and Esposito behind Colombo. So it does limit them quite a bit, but they did what they had to do over here to get their goals.
You know who impressed me from Parma, sorry, before we move on from this game, is Ondrejka, man.
In this game, though, I didn't like him in this game, Ondrejka.
Did we mention him last episode?
Yes, because he's been really good.
Great.
But this
game
week,
wasn't as good. It's true.
He wasn't excellent.
But it was the game last week then where he was really linking up nicely, man, doing some good work. Sorry,
he also scored a few goals, which obviously helps him. But you mentioned Big Ange, obviously, and you're in. We have to mention Fazzini, who wasn't scoring earlier, and then he had a detrimental injury. He had a long-term injury. He was him and Nico Paz at the start of the season were keep your eyes on these guys.
Literally.
Empoli were doing incredibly well. They weren't conceding. They had one of the best defenses in the league. And Fazzini, Colombo, Esposito, the young Italian trident up front, was really, really nice to watch. But Fazzini now, that's 3 goals in his last 4 games. He scored against Venezia, he scored against Lazio, and now he scored in this game. He's still only 21 and stepping up when it matters most, much like Anjorin.
Correction. He scored against Fiorentina and then didn't score against Lazio, but the Fiorentina game he scored.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah. My bad. Nice. Good catch.
Yeah. If it would be editing, we're like, fuck!
Literally. Is there any way we can remove what I said here and then replace it with when I said Fiorentina there? It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
We're trying to fucking edit out the fact that Fazzini didn't score against Lazio. But
if there's a producer listening, guys, join the team.
We're good fun. Yeah. And you can contribute with some cheeky little one-liners.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
And we'll advertise you and whatever. And obviously we'll pay you, you know.
Yeah.
But whatever. I won't talk too much about the Valenti shocker because he might get offended if he listens. But a slap while on the ground and then shirt pulling Esposito for a second yellow. Imagine and then needing to face Kivu after that.
Kivu without his helmet.
Kivu without his helmet. Kivu with his helmet is a bit scary.
It's way scary.
But yes, one thing that I liked about Parma is that Parma, no matter what, they are always capable of scoring a goal. That's the thing about Parma. No matter who they're against, no matter how many players they have fielded on the pitch, they have the weapons, they have the personnel. They should be nowhere near. And I maintain the stance with the players that they have. I don't know if I'm overrating them or whatever. Think what you want. They should be nowhere near the relegation zone. Parma, with the right management, with a forward-thinking, maybe young manager or someone with a bit more experience at the top, they could have, I'm not saying Como level, but they could be somewhere there. They have the players. If Fabregas was there, he could get them to play like Como.
It's true, and they have played very well. And under what's his name? The Pecchia at the start of the season, they had some very good patterns, some very good
1970 Brazil.
The problem has always been
Pep's Barca.
The problem has always been their defense, and it's something that they've addressed by bringing in Valentini, in fact, and that really helped them this game.
Yeah,
No,
Valenti,
but
not
Valenti, sorry, yes.
Or Valentino,
But even
or
the-
Valentino.
But yes, that's been their biggest problem. They're like that horse, you know, the meme drawing of the horse,
Yes,
where
exactly.
it's a super detailed horse in the front, and then the back is a stick figure. That's
Exactly.
Parma. That's Parma.
They're 2014 Argentina with Marcos Rojo at
And
the
not
back.
to mention their best players are very streaky. Dennis Mann, Pellegrino, Boni. These guys don't give you 5 games in a row. They hardly ever all show up at the same time. They go through
Bonnie
phases. all of
slander
them.
I don't enjoy. This Bonnie
Bonnie is-
slander, because when he
Bonnie
doesn't
is-
score, but he always like he has that Lukaku thing.
Yes, bro, it's true. But
If he had an informed Dennis Mann behind him, or Mihaila or something like that, would be talking differently about him, because
It's
they
true,
actually
but-
have people to set up.
we're talking about a striker for Parma, who a pretty good Parma, who have, again, as we say, these offensive patterns and all that. And he's got 6 goals, 3 assists.
He's 20.
You think, yes, I know, I'm aware, bro. But I'm talking about this season and what they need right now. You know, they don't. Boni, as a striker, isn't quite enough. And someone like Pellegrino has shown that he can come in and actually he can contribute, he can get on the score sheet. And that's what these teams need. They need people to score. You can have a very good support striker, but then it's important that he's actually empowering players consistently. He's assisting, he's setting people up consistently. Pellegrino on half the time has half the goals. You know?
Yes.
But in 6 starts, Pellegrino has 3 goals and 1 assist.
You're
That's-
comparing
In 6
different
starts.
profiles, you know.
Different
this in some way.
profiles, yes,
someone
completely.
that empowers other players, and someone like Boni, who is way beyond his years when it comes to the way that he plays football. Then Pellegrino, what you're getting is a South American hungry fucking striker, you know what I mean? Who is a poacher, albeit I don't know if it was this game or the last one. He had a miss the last one.
Game.
The-
Even this
the
one,
one
he
before
had
this.
quite a bad miss this game.
But anyway,
alas, yes.
very good. We'll jump on to mine. In some way, let me add a line on this. The relegation battle is as crazy, not as crazy, but almost as crazy as the battle for top 4. Because if we take a look over here at, apart from Monza, the rest of the bottom. So Empoli, 28 points. Lecce, 28 points. Venezia, 29 points. Parma, 32 points. Verona and Cagliari, 33 points. With 2 games to go. If any of these teams get 1 win, it's huge.
Massive.
1 win could change the entire thing. Of course, it could not change the entire thing. Like Empoli got a win and they thought they were sorted.
Yeah.
But then Venezia got a win right after that. I'm really interested to see what games these guys have left. So if we look at Empoli over here, they need to play. Empoli can do it. Empoli have Monza away and Verona home. And then, if we look, I'm trying so much to win time. I'm really not doing this in an efficient way. Holy shit. Lecce. And then they have Torino at home and Lazio away. Baby, are you down?
I feel like this is the end of Lecce. They haven't won in ages.
They're sad.
They're sad. They don't really have anyone who can contribute to a goal nowadays apart from Kristovic. It feels like if he's not scoring, then it's Pierotti in those 3 games or Teta Morente in those 3 games, and then no one else, literally. Like apart from when I think Basquerotto stepped up as well a few times, but it's always Kristovic, and they leave so much to be desired going forward.
They're not good enough.
They're too leaky. They're not good enough. They're honestly, watching them, I feel like they're one of the teams in this league that is not good enough to be there.
And it sucks
It
because they're
sucks.
southern, they're cool
They
and
have a nice
whatever.
fan
Do I
base.
like their colors? No. Red
You know,
and
like,
yellow.
I don't mind them. They remind me of Birkirkara. Shout out Norbert.
And I don't love the colors of Birkirkara either. Floriana, bro. Venezia have Cagliari away and Juve home. Juve home, you could already place a bet now. Hans Nicolucci Caviglia, goal of the season. Cagliari Venezia and Cagliari Stadium, that's gonna be like I have
way too much.
way
too much. Imagine someone listening with headphones.
Like literally, but that's exactly how I feel about it. That's how I feel. Because love Cagliari, love Venezia, relegation scrap, two teams that play really, really good football, really entertaining football with cool players. That's gonna be a watch. Everyone, cancel your plans on Sunday. Cagliari Venezia, baby. So we can jump to the next game, and then which is Hellas against Lecce. I really enjoyed our Mother's Day watch party with our entire family watching this game. It's absolutely
13 people
because
watching.
Our Nanna Mary, Nannu Joe, our mom, her partner, our girlfriends, Sarah's mom, our mom, every like our family watched this relegation 6-pointer, sat over the sofa.
Yeah,
watching
it was
Hellas Verona against Lecce.
It was great.
It was hilarious, bro.
It was
hilarious.
Great. There might have been El Clasico. No, that was later on.
A little bit later, at 6 o'clock, I think.
But that wasn't on. It's for context. That was not on the TV.
No. Empoli's win over Parma added serious pressure, obviously, in this relegation scrap. Both teams were feeling the heat. They both knew about that victory. Hellas came into the weekend on a 3-game losing streak. They had injuries. They had Faroni and Harrui out. But Coppola and Gilardi returned from suspension, and Tenkstedt was back from injury. So great news, actually, all round. They'd be happy. They gained more than they lost over there. Lecce, dreadful form, just 4 draws in their last 12 games, the rest are losses. They miss Gabijan and Marchvinsky, which we know. For the play-by-play, firstly, this was the 40th anniversary of Verona's 1985 Scudetto. Ooh. So they celebrated it pre-match with former players at the Bentegodi, and it was quite cool to see. I had no idea that Hellas Verona won the Scudetto in 1985. Like, saying it, I'm doubting myself, but the players were there and the celebration was there. So, whatever.
Yeah, I know they've got they're quite a successful team in Italy. Let's look that up. Keep going.
Lecce took the lead in the 23rd. It was Kristovic that beat the offside trap on Morente's through ball and he finished past Montepò. And then Verona equalized in the 41st after Suslov's throated free kick to the back post was headed, looped over by Coppola expertly to get the equalizer. There were multiple missed chances. Kristovic struck the post with a curler. Sar and Serdar both tested Falcon after the break. Coppola got close with another header. Banda had a chance after a Pierotti low cross, but he didn't manage to get there in time. Gaspar was forced off after an aerial clash with Mosquera. Yes. That was quite violent as well. And the final score was 1-1, and quite frankly, both teams will feel like they deserved more.
Absolutely, bro. So, yes, they did win the league, by the way, Hellas Verona in 1984-1985. And they also came Coppa Italia runners-up in 1982-83, 1983-84.
That's great news for Italiano. It gets your runners-up on your Wikipedia. Yeah. So you might not get a winner's medal, but if you go on Wikipedia, they're over there.
They're there, bro. Don't worry. Indri, bro. Can we talk about Indri?
Indri, the guy that you play League of Legends with. That sings a lot.
No, that's shout out Dre. Indri, this game, Conan Indri, right winger of Lecce, had a mare of a game. 17 touches. Managed 1 successful accurate pass.
Fucking legend.
Failed all his crosses, all his long balls. Attempted 4 dribbles, managed only 1. Out of 11 duels, he only won 1. He lost possession 13 times. He committed 4 fouls. He was awful.
You're telling me.
He was.
He touched the ball. How many times did he touch the ball?
14 times.
How many times did he give away the ball?
13 times.
There's 1 success. That's all he did. He should have a negative
And then
score.
Banda came on, who was a little bit better with the ball. He managed all his passes. But then when it comes to the physical aspect of the game, he's also not up for it. He's
No,
quite unfit
no,
at
absolutely
the moment.
not.
Banda.
He's jolly to bring on.
Yes,
like,
but he
at the
wasn't
end of
like
the
this.
game.
He was always a very lively player. You know,
He was a lively player, but
he's clearly off form. Or, he's out of shape. Like, and I feel like that's a big problem when you're 24 years old. You're meant to be
He
in the shape
should
of
take
your
a
life.
page out of the Luvumbozito book because they're quite similar in that sense when it comes to their size, their stature, and their strengths. Obviously, Luvumbo is a bit more. He could cut in early and give those crosses to Piccoli, for example.
Banda's even smaller.
Banda's even
we're talking
5'2",
5'3", I think. 5'3".
It's crazy, man.
That's so short. Like, no offense to anyone listening who's that height.
I think this was a very, very, very low quality game by two very, very, very low quality teams. I'm going to say it like it is, nowhere near where they have to be. I would personally go so far as to say I wish both these teams were relegated in place of Empoli and whoever else would get relegated over there. Because Verona and Lecce need to hit the hard restart. It's crazy that the first half was entertaining. The second half, they both... I don't know if they took their foot off the gas, but the game seemed to fizzle out in the second half. It happened an interesting way. It perhaps should have been the other way around, but especially Verona, with that historic backdrop at the Bentegodi, the stadium was completely sold out. They looked jittery under pressure. If Lecce put 2% pressure on them, they were fumbling it. Poor passing, hesitant defending. Barely a shot in the first half before the goal. Just a really, really low quality game by Verona. Yeah. The only thing that they have going for them, what is the only thing that they have going for
Hellas Verona. Duda and Suslov.
And to be fair, Coppola, who in the top 5 leagues out of... No, you see, this is why I told you it's incorrect as well. Because Rahmani has... Well, he is... one of the defenders that has won the most aerial duels in the top 5 leagues, which is crazy considering he plays for Hellas Verona.
He's doing really well, Coppola, this season. He's having kind of somewhat of a breakout season, quite frankly.
And in this conversation, of course, there's... I'm just going to read you the top 10 people that have won the most headers in the top 5 leagues. Not only defenders, but in first place, Milan Juric. Second place, Hoffman, then Torro, Kleinst, that's whatever. Dan Byrne.
Ooh, Newcastle.
York, who plays for Brest. Budimir, that plays for Osasuna. Muriqi, of Mallorca.
Former Lazio.
Rahmani for Napoli, who is just 2 over Diego Coppola.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yes, so that's it. I think that game, these guys, it's literally going to go down to the wire at the bottom over here, and Hellas Verona and Lecce will be shitting their pants looking at Empoli and Venezia winning.
Absolutely.
That's all I have to say.
My God, I'm still scared for Venezia because I do feel like Monza just beat Udinese, so they might enter that Empoli game with confidence, and Empoli are coming off a win as well. That's going to be a good game.
It is. We'll see what the hell happens, because honestly, bro, it's exhausting. It's exhausting because you never know what the hell is going to happen. Like, it's a good thing we don't bet.
Yeah.
Good thing.
To be fair, I was thinking of bringing it back.
Bringing it back?
Bringing back betting.
Cheeky fivers. Serie A spotlight slips.
Oh, Madonna. We've never lost more money in our lives.
Started off really well. So, Como hosted Cagliari, and they made it 6 wins in a row.
Madonna.
Coming from behind, of course, to win this one. It all started off with a howler by Reina, which gifted Adopo the opener after he was set up by Zortea. And then Como responded quickly with 3 very high quality goals. The first one coming from Cagey, who lobbed in a beauty after a Perrone pass. As he was wheeling off in celebration, the referee whistles, claiming he was offside. And then, of course, VAR confirmed the goal. As long as he ruined the celebration, right?
Yeah.
He was happy. And then Srefetza bent one in with a lucky slip. Lucky slip? I wouldn't call it a lucky slip.
He slipped and he scored, so I guess
he scored.
Perhaps.
But the shot was definitely, he had the technique nailed.
Yes.
So an excellent goal over there from the left side. And then Cutrone sealed it with a cool finish after being played through beautifully by Nico Paz. to score on his 100th appearance for Como. Also whistled off for offside, but goal was given eventually. So yes, Cagliari are still left sweating over survival. They are not safe yet, of course, as we've said. But Como are absolutely flying under Fabregas, who won the Philadelphia Cheese Spread Coach of the Month.
And McTominay won the Player of the Month.
The Philadelphia Cheese Spread Player of the Month. What did you make of Reina's howler?
I mean, you'd expect better at the near post. I mean, what is there to say? Awful goalkeeping by Reina. Fabregas must be feeling sweet. He's like, look, we're essentially nothing to play for. We're playing well. We're not conceding goals because we're not conceding many shots. Let me put Reina between the sticks. He's my friend. He's essentially my age and my nationality.
Yeah.
I'm going to put him in. And essentially, that's how he repays him.
Absolutely, yes. Perrone played really well. Nico Paz, brilliant as always. Nico Paz is way too good.
He's
to be there. Way too good. I'm talking like he is a level above everyone around him. And usually his opponents as well. He is, I'm not even exaggerating, he's insane the way he plays. His playmaking ability is top tier in Italy.
Does Nico Paz, it's too tough. I was going to say, does he make the team of the season? It's tough because there are players who have had as big a say as Nico Paz did on Como with larger teams with more on the line. So it's hard to put Nico Paz in the team, for example, when you're putting Scott McTominay in there for Napoli, and then there's Reinders, for example, in midfield, and all of these guys. Çalhanoğlu in midfield as well. It's hard to fit him in. But there's a shout, huh?
We'll see in 3 episodes' time.
How exciting. Exciting. But Paz is phenomenal. I hope that Fabregas just has the conversation with him of, look, I could have gone to Roma. I could have gone to Milan. I'm staying here as the next big thing of managers because I believe in this project, and we're going to match your level when you grow. You're going to grow and the team is going to grow. The more you grow, the more the team is going to grow. It's like working at a startup kind of thing.
Yeah, literally. It's like, working at a startup, literally.
You were going to make an analogy
and I changed my mind. I'll tell you what. 4-2-3-1 for Como, of course, their usual formation. The movement was so sharp. The balls were very vertical. Cagliari, despite starting well, totally collapsed mentally after the 2-1. I feel like as Como were growing into it, they realized, like, damn, we can't keep up with these guys. They had a few nice moments of interchangeable play between Adopo, Viola particularly, and playing
Adopo is good, man. I highlighted him last week. He's been playing really well.
He is. But yes, Como were simply too much for them, and this team has really grown into it, and they really are a team. You see, the person who enjoyed that Cutrone goal the most was Duvikas on the bench. You see Duvikas jumping when the goal was confirmed. He ran up to him, he hugged him. He's his competition in the starting 11, so it looks like a very healthy environment.
It's true. I believe it. Same, because it's run by people that love football.
It's
right?
true. Everyone's all smiles.
Exactly. And again, I know, why does he keep saying because it's a beautiful city, because it's calm and whatever. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
They're all living in Italy, in Como, by the lake, one of the most stunning places in the world, playing for one of the richest clubs in Italy with one of the most exciting projects in world football at the moment, where Thierry Henry, Cesc Fabregas, so on and so forth are all involved in the club. They have celebrities at their stadium every single week, including people that are winning fucking Oscars and Terry Crews and this and that. It is the place to be at the moment, Como.
Yeah.
And if Nico Paz decides to leave, I think he would have made a very, very tough decision, because I don't think it's the first thing on his mind right now.
Absolutely. And apparently Fabregas rejected Leverkusen
as well.
Yeah.
He would have been good for them, huh? But even better for Como. Even better for Como.
Yes. What do you have? You have a game now?
No, that's us, bro.
No, we have one more. Udinese Monza, baby.
Ah, how?
Because I did 2 in a row.
And then I did 2 in a row. Did I
Are
not?
you missing one? No,
not
I
with
don't think
Genoa.
so.
Atalanta, Roma. Sorry, guys, really quick. Bologna, Milan. Empoli, Parma. Hellas, Lecce.
Okay.
I'm done.
You're done. So let's do this one quickly. So Udinese hosted Monza and somehow lost 2-1. A rare shock this was, a shocking victory by Monza. We were just discussing last week that they are almost historically shit, right? Monza this season when it comes to the points. But yes, this was their 3rd victory of the season and their 1st since January. Caprari opened the scoring, not that he knew anything about it, because Birindelli charged down the right side. He hit the post with his shot and it looked to deflect off Caprari's arm, but he actually pointed at his shoulder and the replay showed that it was indeed his shoulder. After that, Keita Balde decided to, I don't know what the hell he was trying to do. I think he tried to backheel the ball. He fell on the floor in the process in the opponent's half. The ball was just kicked away from him, long ball up to Lucca, bounced about 3 times, and Lucca just volleyed it as hard as he could.
Oh, you mean Robin Van Persie?
Brilliant goal by the man who makes Pafundi look like a shell of a man. Like he makes him look like one of those bobbleheads over there. Literally. And then it was Keita Balde who redeemed his mistake in the 90th minute. He grabbed the winner. Obviously too late for Nesta's side for that to mean anything, but of course it was nice for them to get a victory. Funny to see Pafundi marking Keita Balde in that situation. Should never be the case. But nice to see that it meant so much to him that he would take off his top and go running. Like you said, not quite sure what he's doing there. But I think Runjaic is clearly experimenting with his players. Maybe he has one eye on next season as well, with the players he's fielding.
I guess that's what it has to come down to, because it doesn't make sense that Udinese take this turn. Before this, they had a terrible spell as well. Okay, they're coming off a win against Cagliari away from home, which isn't, we know, it's not an easy place to go. And before that, they had a draw to Bologna. But before that, they had multiple losses in a row, including a home loss to Verona, an away loss to Inter, an away loss to Genoa, a home loss to Milan, where they lost 4-0, that was the birth of Conceição's 3-4-3, and a 2-0 loss away to Torino. This is a team that Inter just only scraped past them twice. They bring the game to everyone. We always say that they clearly have their identity. They're a big physical team, hard-working, love to utilize width, love to stretch their opponents, and they're going to man-mark you and they're going to go for you. Think, in a weird way, a budget Inter, so to say. Very transferable in that sense. They're like Inter's second team.
Yeah. Inter from Wish.
So it has to be that. I mean, you look at the starting 11 that he fields, and there are changes. I mean, starting Lucca as one of them, for example.
Because he obviously was out injured, Lucca. So that's why. But in reality, I just compared the starting 11 to the previous game against Cagliari, and it's relatively the same, to be honest. What is experimental is Monza, of course, keeping an eye on next season in Serie B. They started Omari Forsen, Castrovilli got a start in midfield, Brorson started at the back, Pizzignacco.
Bro, the majority of these are gone next season.
Yeah, literally, but of course, Nesta needs to see what he's got, right?
Yes.
He needs to see what to work with. I guess Udinese at the beach, right? When playing a team that isn't exactly...
That's already relegated, exactly, a team that doesn't excite them.
Exactly. It's. I think they're more inclined to get an impressive result against a big team than to not get embarrassed by a small team at this point in the season.
Exactly. Andrea Carboni.
Yes.
He was highly rated, and when there was the takeover, when there was the takeover of Monza by Berlusconi,
it was a coup.
He was one of the big ones that they got, along with Pessina, who was one of the Italian young talents that they brought in, he really doesn't stand out to me in this team.
At the moment, it's a bit hard to stand out.
It's hard to stand out, of course, but also it's an opportunity to stand out. And see, I just don't feel like from the age of 21 to 24 there's been much progress. What I would like to see is him stay in Serie A. If he manages to get some kind of loan or something to a newly promoted team, or preferably someone a bit higher up than that newly promoted team, we could see his level a bit more clear. Because you're right to say that if you're Monza and you're getting essentially destroyed every single game, it's hard to see a defender play well. One thing he does is he's got a good left foot on him. He's capable of bombing a little bit in that sense.
I feel like on the ground, when it comes to 1v1s, he's better than he's in the era, in 1v1s at least. But yes, we need to see him, I think, at a different team, because this team kind of masks, I think, and takes away from most of these players over here. No one really stands out as great.
Fair enough.
Danny Motta's the only one. And where the hell was he?
Literally.
But thank you very much.
Okay, I think that's
shit.
us.
Wisdom with the wank. Give me your phone.
Wisdom with the wank.
Let's find
Wisdom
one.
with the wank,
I haven't
everyone.
prepared one, I forgot.
We've lost wisdom with the wank. What were you going to point out there?
Nothing. I forgot to prepare it.
Oh, there you go.
Simi and Wankwo. Let's see if he's got any quotes in recent times. So that's one we did last week.
For those of you that don't know, Simi Nwankwo, 6'6" striker, one of the only 3 African strikers that scored 20 goals in a single Serie A season. Not exactly a flashy footballer. You watch him play football, you're like, why the fuck does this guy play football? But we love him. We absolutely adore him. And he posts really great quotes online on his Instagram, very motivational ones. Doesn't copy-paste them. He writes them himself. English is not his first language.
Doesn't give a shit. And that's how it should be. Who gives a fuck if you make a spelling mistake, right?
Wisdom with the wank.
No matter where you began or what happened along the way, you have the power to get to where you're supposed to be. Just keep moving.
In life, setbacks are going to define you. Are you going to let those setbacks make you motivated and help you reach your final goal? Or are you going to use them as an excuse to be a lame piece of fucking shit? Wisdom with the wank.
Use it as fuel. Wisdom with the wank.
We'll catch you all next week. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Forza Milan, Forza Milan, Forza Milan. We'll be back next week. Love you all. Ciao, ciao.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.